Hey, boys and girls, thanks so much for being with me again today. I'm so glad to be with you guys every single week. Today, I went and got myself some breakfast, and not just any breakfast, I got myself a donut right here, and I'm really excited about it. But something I noticed about a donut, I never really thought about it before, is there's a hole in the middle of it. And I knew there was a hole in the middle of the donut, but I never knew why. So I thought, I'm going to look that up, and I'm going to see what I can figure out. Now, a couple of things. Number one, they don't really know when or how or who invented the hole in the middle of the donut. Donuts originally were solid and didn't have that hole in the middle. But there's a couple of different stories. And one of the stories I thought was really interesting. In the 1800s, there's a guy by the name of Gregory. Gregory was a really important guy, and Gregory was a really interesting guy. One of the interesting things about Gregory was he was the captain of a ship, which means he would spend most of his life on sea and sailing around and had a crew, all that kind of cool stuff. Another important thing about Gregory is he had a mom by the name of Elizabeth. And Elizabeth was known and famous for making amazing donuts. These fried pieces of dough that would have fruit or fillings or anything like that in the middle. And she would make these specifically for Gregory and send them out with him when he would go sailing. Now, one of these times where Gregory has a donut in his hand and he's out on the seas, a storm hit. And the winds were crashing and the waves were crashing and it was going really chaotic, and he had a donut in his hand and he had to figure out, what do I do with this donut? And he's standing there at the steering wheel of the ship, and we all know what those look like. They're these big round things and they have these spikes kind of sticking off of them. And in a moment of panic, he took his donut and threw it onto one of those kind of spike things on the steering wheel so that he could still save his donut but steer the ship. And then one of the rumors is that was the first time that anyone ever put a hole in the middle of a donut. Now, I don't know for certain if that story is true. There's some people that say it is. There's some people that say it isn't. But here is something that I do know is true. And it actually is a different story, but involving a ship and a storm. You see, in the Bible, in the New Testament, there's the story of Jesus and his disciples, and they are sailing. They're in a boat, and they're going across this body of water. And while they're in the middle of this body of water, a storm hits. And the waves are crashing, and the boat is rocking back and forth, and chaos is happening, and the disciples are panicked, and they are certain that their boat is going to tip over. And they're certain that this is going to go bad, and there is no way out of the situation, that the storm is too great, the storm is too powerful, the storm is too big. And then at the last moment, what they decide to do is go wake up Jesus, because Jesus is in the bottom of the boat, and he's actually asleep taking a nap. And the disciples wake Jesus up, and they say, Jesus, it's over. We're in the middle of the storm, and it's too big for any of us to handle, and we don't know what to do. And Jesus looks at them and says, just have faith and watch what I'm going to do. And he goes out and he tells the storm to stop. That's all he does. He tells the storm to stop. He doesn't have a magical button or anything like that. He just says stop. And the storm does. And the disciples and Jesus are completely fine. And the disciples look at Jesus and they realize just how great his power is, that in the midst of what they think is certain doom, Jesus is in control. Boys and girls, we all will have times where it feels like we're on a ship in the middle of a storm, where there's different things going on, or we're frustrated, or we're angry, or we're scared, or we're nervous, or all of these different things, and we think it's too big, it's too powerful, and there's no way we could ever get past it or get through it. And what Jesus does is he calms that storm. He gives us a little bit of peace. He gives us a little bit of calm. He gives us a little bit of rescue. I don't know if the first time someone put a hole in a donut was on a ship in the middle of a storm. It's a cool story. But I do know this when it comes to a ship in the middle of a storm, is that Jesus is willing and able to rescue those disciples. And Jesus is willing and able to rescue us. So if you are in the middle of a storm, boys and girls, if you feel like life is so crazy and so big, just realize this, that Jesus can calm that storm, that Jesus will take care of you, that Jesus will comfort you, and he will make everything okay. I got to eat this donut. So I want to thank you guys for being with me today. We will see you again next week. Take care. God bless. Stay safe. And we will see you all again soon. Bye, guys.